Welcome to the Locals Only Lounge. I'm your host, Andrew Dyer, back at you for another hour ish of locals, loyal fan content, feeding the beast of this never ending, media landscape where you got to be constantly listening, watching something, constantly engaged. Don't think about your life, don't think about your family. Watch us, listen to us. You're doing the right thing. I promise you. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're listening to this on your podcast feed, know that the previous show, the Loyal Locals podcast, has all the details for this week's events, watch parties, volunteer opportunities. All of that is in there. This is our lounge where we talk a little bit looser, a little freely. Topics come up as they may, and that's what we talk about. So if you're trying to get information about supporter group activities, check out that pod. But now I'm joined again by our producer John Cross. John, welcome back.
Thank you. Happy to
And
have some free flowing discussions tonight.
oh yes, and Kevin Joseph, our Rocket League captain, back with us again. How are you?
Doing all right, and we got another player already.
Wow, all right.
So you come on the pod, promote your stuff. You never know. Maybe you get a Blue Sky invite. Never know. Hey, you never know. Okay, can I just complain about something real quick? I mean, that's kind of what I do on this pod, but okay. So I signed up for this Blue Sky beta like over a month ago, before it went like viral on Twitter and like people were talking about, oh, everybody said Blue Sky is good. Like I asked, because I've been signing up for every Twitter alternative that's coming along. Like it's just like what I do. Twitter alternative, okay, I sign up for it. Sign up for the beta. Never got the invite to the beta. And then I just start seeing all these people getting in because they get invites from this person, invites from this person. It's this East Coast media bias, right? They don't respect reporters on the West Coast. They don't respect anybody that's not in their DC, New York media elite, wine and champagne sipping social circles. And those of us out here, the hardworking blue collar journalists of the West Coast, just constantly being left behind. We get up 3 hours later than them. Oh, that story's already out there. Where you been? Oh, I was sleeping because I live somewhere better than you. But anyway, I'm sorry. I know that's not what this podcast is about. That's not what y'all are about. And that's not what our audience is about. But we do have stuff to chat about. John, what's on your mind?
Well, actually, I'm gonna hold off for just a second. I
You
want
don't
to
want to.
get
You don't
your
want to dive
guys'
in just yet.
no. I want to get your guys' take on this last week. I know we danced around it at the beginning of the last podcast, but I do have some thoughts. But I want to kind of hear some other people's thoughts about just in general this week. I don't know. I don't want to sway it one way. What are your thoughts from what happened this week?
Well, I mean, it's good to pick up points on the road. You know, a road win is important. I'm still not too stoked about the performance on the field. I think Guido had a better game, but and with Nick Moon being back is huge for us because I think he's such an important part of the team and what makes the attack so potent. But it's still not that sharp, beautiful game attack that we've seen this team do. And it's just, I don't know how much of it is like other teams getting game tape on us and knowing how to shut down that stuff or injuries. I think Charlie Adams is a huge part of this
Yeah.
because his distribution is key to some of these attacks. I don't know. It's good to see Collier get on the score sheet. He's a player that because of his size and his skill with the ball at his feet, like he kind of disarms the opponent because you're not expecting a guy like him. He looks like Drew. Doesn't he look like Drew Steck? It looks like we got Drew Steck on the team. Because I'll tell you what, I played Barcata, with Drew. And let me tell you, man, I'm seeing some real parallels with Drew Steck and Elliot Collier.
He surprises you.
The physique, the size, and then the scoring ability on the field, the competitiveness. Really, if I feel like I'm watching my old friend Drew, who lives way in the wild north now. Really reminds me of that guy. But yeah, I'm glad he scored. I mean, obviously it's a game winner, it's a huge goal, but gosh, I really wish. I really want to see. What I really want to see is some. I want to see some magic from Ronaldo Damos. I want to see him. I want to see them find him in space. I want to see him on that counter. I want to see him burn the back line and then make the goalie look stupid. Like I want to see that from him, and we haven't gotten it yet, and it's in him. I know it's in him. He's got these runs in him. It just hasn't. It just hasn't happened yet. And gosh, when it does happen, I'm going to lose my shit because I've been waiting for it.
I feel like we just haven't clicked yet. Even 11 games into the season here, I think that's where we are. Just still haven't felt like the team has quite clicked. And we're still sitting there at the top, not the top of the table, but up in the top end of the table. So that said, all the way around, I still feel good about the season overall, but I guess the one big thing this season that is different for me is I haven't really felt, if we've had a lead late in the game, like, oh no, like I have for the last couple of years. Like we have a late lead and like, I'm not sure if we're going to pull this off. This season,
we've been
even though we
pulling
haven't
out
been
wins.
scoring, even though we haven't been scoring as many goals, when we have the lead and it's late in the game, I still feel confident going in there.
Even if we're tied, it's never over, and we've seen where we used to surrender goals at the end of tight matches. We are now scoring goals at the end of tight matches, be they own goals, be they bangers from New Zealand against MLS teams, or Drew Steck manifesting on the field, on the pitch, and and picking up a much needed game winner.
The back line still worries me a bit.
Does it? Was that because of the own goals or the?
I haven't gotten a chance to watch the last few games. I missed the last home game. But overall, the back line still worries me some. In the highlights I saw from the Miami game, Koke worried me from what I saw. But I think overall the team has been more organized this season. Definitely they can score goals. And yeah, you're right. The end of games are a little less worrying than they were last season, where they gave up so many leads late. So as long as they kind of get that organization, keep improving it, I think they'll be okay.
Yeah. I don't know. It's so hard. It's one of the things that you love and you hate about USL soccer is like, is the backline, are they not as good as they need to be, or are they running into opponents that just show moments of class at the exact wrong time for us?
Right.
It's hard to judge. Grant Stillman's own goal, like I don't fault him. That wasn't like a header like we saw against Tulsa, right? It wasn't that egregious. It was kind of a dumb luck type of. I mean, they all count the same, but I don't really fault him as much for that. What is troubling is sometimes the hesitancy or failure to make a play on the ball in that key moment in the final third, whether that's ball watching or getting beat, letting somebody by you. And I'm not picking on anyone in particular because, all 11 guys on the pitch at any given time, make mistakes like that. But yeah, it's just kind of what you get. I think that's what you get at the USL in this league. You know, you're just going to get those moments like that and those little fissures that an attacker, with the right amount of space and the right mindset can exploit. And it's a tough game, and usually it's a low scoring game. So a good attacker who can exploit a fissure can have a big impact, and we see that over and over again.
It was kind of some dead air there, wasn't it? We're all deep in
I
thought.
didn't know.
I thought our producer was carrying us into the next thing.
Yeah.
Was there something else we needed to talk about, John? Was there something else on your mind? I know you'd said you wanted to hear other people's takes, so that was this week. Was there something
We haven't
else
talked about what
happened?
we're drinking yet.
Oh, what are you drinking?
I am drinking a S3 2X. It's an Imperial Sour from Kilowatt Peach Cobbler.
Cheers.
What do you have over there?
Sounds interesting.
This is just pizza port.
I have water.
Joys of Summer.
Nice.
I got it at Vaughn's. This is a grocery store beer, but it's a good one, and it's reasonably fresh. It was canned on May 2nd, which is about as good as you can ask for from Vaughn's.
No doubt.
I've learned my lesson. I've been burned so many times. And if you're a brewery, let me just go on. I'm going to go off another tangent here. Bear with me. If you're a brewery canning beers and distributing them to grocery stores, I'm not talking about like, a Vine and Vine on Adams, like somebody who curates their collection and is not going to have a shelf turd out there. But if you're a brewery canning beer, and it's going to Barron's or Trader Joe's or Vaughn's, and you're not putting a can date on your can, you know what? Screw you, man, because these grocery stores will have your beer sit in a room temperature shelf for months and months and months and months, right? Now, an IPA that's sat on a shelf for 4 months, 5 months at room temperature, guess what? If I buy that and take it home and pour it in a glass, it's going to taste like absolute shit. Like god awful. I'm going to say, oh, this brewery, whatever your name is, sucks. I'm never going to buy their beer again. And it's all because you will not spring for whatever it costs to stamp the date on the bottom of the can. Put the date on the can. Put the date on the can. Help out your customers. I check every single can because when I go to Barron's, I know. And if you work at Barron's, I'm talking to you. I find beer at Barron's that's like over a year old. Like, what are you doing with this year-old beer on the shelf? What are you doing to your customers? It's like a big fuck you to your customers. Like, I want you to have a really bad time when you buy this and take it home and try to drink it. So, anyway, put the dates on the cans. And if you work at Barron's, get the shelf turds out of there, flush that shit, or send it back to the distributor. They will take it. See, this is the way beer distribution works. The distributor will take back old beer. But you got to tell them that it's old, or it just sits on the shelf. Anyway, sorry, John. What are you drinking?
Water. I'm just drinking water.
Did they put a date on that, or that's fresh stuff?
It's May 23rd.
Oh, Taylor wants to start a beer show. Listen, Taylor, they can all be beer shows if you want to come on. To be honest.
We've talked about that before. That has been a topic of conversation to do a tea beer show. Maybe someday here.
I mean,
I have to see Taylor if he wants to show run that show.
Paul says they don't want the old beer back, but I think some distributors will take it back. Like I think the retailers can send it back if it's past whatever date. Like, you can send it back. I believe that a lot of retailers can do that. Should they choose to do it?
Yeah, you don't
May
want
not
that
want
on
it.
the shelf. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want somebody buying year-old beer, having it, and like, oh, this is awful, and that's their impression of your product.
Some breweries self-distribute, and they do it for this very reason, right? You can't always trust a distributor like the big ones like Crest and Stone, who you can't always trust that they're going to take care of your product. Well, here we go. Now the conversation's going.
Yeah,
Chris
now
says,
it's hopping.
I once picked up a batch of
Heyo.
Sculpin years ago that was supposed to be recalled. It was double hopped. Oh no.
Oh
See,
no,
the
not
thing
double hopped.
So, and when these beers that are like double dry hopped, this is kind of a big fad in IPA production, is to have the double dry hopped IPA, which, but when brewers do that, it does create a very, very hoppy beer, and they're delicious, but it also really cuts down on the shelf life of the beer. So a double dry hopped beer, that those hops have not gone, like it's dry hop, like they do it at the more towards the end of the process than whenever they do it. I'm not a brewer, I don't know exactly what I'm talking about, but it definitely lessens the shelf life for these double dry hop beers. So if they're sitting, if it's more than a month old, and especially if it's been stored at room temperature, it is not good. The hops fall off, and you start getting like some really unpleasant flavors. In fact, a lot of people, and this is my own pet conspiracy theory, people love to hate on IPAs. People love to hate on them. And I think one of the reasons is that so many retailers throughout this country store them incorrectly, at room temperature. They need to be chilled, and they sell them well past when they should be selling them. You should not be drinking an IPA that is over 2-3 months old. Like, it's really going to start falling off at that point. And then any longer, and you really start to get into some unpleasant flavors, which is, I think, why so many people don't like them, is because they've had this experience. I don't know. Maybe I'm full of it. Maybe it's because they went to the brewery and had it from the source, and then they're like, oh, this is still bad. So that's always possible.
Some people don't love the hops. I don't understand those people, but some people don't love the hops.
I just want to thank Tay for actually catching my,
I followed
pun
you.
that I did.
Oh.
Well, should we talk about MLS in San Diego, guys?
I was going to say, are we going to
Why
beat
not?
this dead horse? Or
It's been 17, 18 minutes. Do we want to talk about it? I mean, what's there to say?
I am.
Go ahead, Kevin.
I was going to say, I am fully prepared to get myself shunned out of 109 for the next game as we discuss MLS tonight. But I am not an MLS hater. I mean, I follow an MLS team, but I've also been following that team since pre-MLS. That situation was not quite as similar to what's going on here. Went from the team almost folding to thankfully being bought by an ownership group that had the ability to bring them up. This sucks. I am excited about the idea of MLS in San Diego. I am not excited at the idea that it's not loyal. That it's probably going to, if not kill Loyal, severely hurt.
Yeah, that's kind of my big thing about it. Yeah, I don't know if you knew this, Kevin. I don't like it. I don't like MLS. I don't like MLS coming into San Diego. I don't like it. I'm not happy about it. I have a lot of reservations about this ownership group. I have a lot of reservations about, obviously, its impact on Loyal, but because I'm so invested in being a part of the supporter group for Loyal, I think that's why I care so much, and why it's been so difficult to see the level of support that this MLS team is getting, right off the bat. I wasn't like a big soccer person before Loyal came along. I went to the whenever Spurs were here playing Roma. I went to that. I mean, I went to that. I got free tickets, but I wasn't like a huge like soccer person, and it was really through not even through the loyal themselves, but it was through the locals and the supporter group was really my introduction to the team. Right, like I knew there was going to be a team here. I knew what a supporter group was, and I knew I wanted to be part of one. And so when locals started, that's what I followed on socials, and that's what I was engaging with before, even engaging with the team, and so to me, the supporter group has always been about supporting San Diego Loyal, and my understanding of like supporter culture and football culture in general is like your club is your club, right? Your club is your club. You're born into it. That's how it works in England. You're born into an Everton supporting family, a Sunderland family. You're born into whatever, and your neighborhood, and that's your club, and that's who you support. You support them whether they're in the Premier League or the Championship or League One, League Two, or if you're in Wrexham, you support them even when they're in the national league. They're not even in the English football system, EFL. All right, you just support your club, and that's how football works, right? And for me, getting a club in San Diego, it's like, oh, here's an opportunity to buy into that and buy into that culture, buy into that part of soccer football culture that we haven't had, and I haven't ever been exposed to. And so all of that emotional potential and investment, maybe this is my fault. Maybe I'm an idiot. Maybe I shouldn't have done this. But all of that I had to give, that I was willing to give, all of it, I just gave it to Loyal, right? Okay, that's my club. That's the crest is my club. That's it. Loyal till I die. That's my relationship with the game and with professional soccer in general, right? That's it. So I think seeing people who on game days in 109 are, to the left and to the right of me, in front of me and behind me, I think seeing people who maybe my own ignorance, right? Who like I assumed felt the same way about the club or their fandom, immediately declare support for this other club. It was kind of like, oh, okay, so all of this has been bullshit, right? This has all been like meaningless, right? This hasn't really been what I thought it was. So, maybe I'm a little jaded or a little naive as far as like soccer fandom, because I mean, obviously people have wanted MLS here for a very long time and waited for that, and when they didn't get it, hey, okay, I'll go support the USL team. But then when when MLS comes in, it's like, okay, boom, got what I want. And that's fine, but it's not, I think, easy to just, sounds very stupid, but I'm a very loyal person. Like, it's not like, and I'm not saying that because the team is named Loyal. Like, that's not even what I'm talking about. Like, I'm just a loyal person. I've been married almost 20 years. Like, I don't, I didn't leave my wife because a hotter, whatever person,
Careful.
came into my life, right? Well, I'm just saying, like, I'm loyal to the person I chose, and I don't know. I'm not married to this club. It's kind of stupid to even compare the two, maybe, but that's like the level of like, that's kind of like what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think obviously it's been highly emotional couple of weeks with all the news, I think, for everybody. And I think, Andrew, what you shared, and your connection, how you feel to the club, I think there are a lot of people who feel that way, even people who may be looking or interested in MLS. And I think it serves all of us very well if we try to separate some things out. Um, I know you hear some of the people maybe that were in support of building Snapdragon, kind of we kind of stereotype the Aztec football group, that was against Soccer City, and they kind of say, but you wanted MLS. And I think there are some people who want MLS here and have always wanted MLS here. And I think there's a whole bunch of people who are also in that group that wanted a outdoor men's professional soccer team here. Just the vehicle at that time was Major League Soccer. But then when the Loyal came around, there were a lot of people that said, okay, we have found our outdoor men's soccer team. And I do think there's a lot of people who feel like you do, Andrew. It's like you pick your team and you stay with that team. And I think we have people who have very strong feelings about San Diego, right? And our culture of people who come here and arrive here and move here, they love it here. There's something about San Diego that really connects with people. And the people in San Diego connect with people. And I think you have you have all these, I don't want to say conflicting interests, but for some people the love of San Diego is slightly higher. For some people the love of the team, because you're a passionate supporter, is a little bit higher. For some people it's the top tier is, outweighs some of the other things.
Well, it's also the supporter culture itself, because like you look at an MLS supporter group and like it's incredible. Like you've got literally thousands of people, whereas we have dozens of people, in 109. Like it's a completely different experience. And like that's, as somebody who enjoys like doing supporter stuff, it's like that looks like a lot of fun.
Well, I think that experience, I think that is a key point, that there is a solid experience. And I think this is one thing that separates us, even as a USL team, but our supporter group, and not just, we're talking about the locals because it's a locals podcast, but it's more than just the locals in 109, the whole 109 experience with Chavos, the Rainbow Loyals, and the Fiends. But that culture we have built and developed, I think really resonates with people. What we do with our community and what our club stands for really resonates with people. And unlike, I think, the vast majority of people, I don't see this as a terrible thing with MLS coming here. I'm not a fan of MLS, but that's the structure of MLS. That's Don Garber. That's different for me than the team that's showing up. And I don't plan on ever supporting the team because I have my team. I'm a little bit more like you, Andrew, in that sense. This is my team. I've selected this team. But I am totally okay with anybody who wants to go and look at that and support that team. But as I've told a whole bunch of people in the last couple of weeks, I really see a huge path forward for us as a supporter group and this team, because even though historically, wherever MLS has come in, the USL team has not been successful. It wasn't here. It wasn't a team like this. If you look back at any of those other ownership groups and teams, it was not the same. And I think it was, people had soccer and then something shinier came along. I think people have a connection to this team that is different. And I think we have a wonderful opportunity to grow that even bigger than it was pre-MLS. I think the MLS, they're still going to draw. I'm not saying we're outdrawing the MLS team, possibly ever, unless U.S. Soccer changes our structure and we have promotion relegation and there's a way for us to, battle on level footing. But besides that, I think there is a connection that most people have to this organization and to this club and to this supporter group that, yeah, I think some people are going to go check that out and go see the experience that might be that MLS supporter group, however that comes out. But I also think there's going to be a lot of people in San Diego who get their eyes opened up to supporter culture now that they've got some options, and look at what an experience is like with the Wave or with the Loyal or with whatever this new MLS team will be. And I think as more people get brought into the fold of soccer, who maybe were very casual fans to begin with, this team is really going to resonate with a lot of people. I strongly believe that. I think and we can't just sit on our laurels and it's just going to happen. I mean, we have to be proactive in making that happen. But I see us having a strong foothold, and I can't wait till 2025 and we hopefully, cross my fingers, have our first Open Cup match. I mean, I think that is going to be, it's just going to be an outstanding experience all the way around. But I think, again, and I'm gonna say it till people are sick of hearing me say it. I think there is a path forward that we have that is different than pretty much anywhere else MLS has come in to bring a team before. And I'm super excited about our prospects, especially even more so after Alesmith and the people who showed up there that night and how packed that was and energized. And I'm just I'm super excited. I'm when Andrew Vasiliadis said we're here and we're not going anywhere, like that's all I needed to like, know that this is where my roots are going to be, and this is my path forward as well as a supporter. So I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure that this supporter group, you know, is as successful as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting the teams that MLS has brought in that haven't been the existing team. Because Jason mentioned Cincinnati. He's mentioning St. Louis, but also St. Louis's ownership was involved a bit in the MLS team. They're just minority owners. But you're looking at clubs like Charlotte Independence, Austin Bold that he mentioned.
I mean, Austin Bold was Columbus, right? That was like they moved the team, right? Something like that.
Not exactly. But I'm trying to think who else. Going even further back, Atlanta with the Silverbacks. I am here to wave my cane and give you some history. So these are all clubs that honestly weren't doing anything to begin with. Austin Bold was an interesting thing happening that had come in after the third Austin Aztecs team folded again. Maybe not after, but they came
were playing
up
way out. Somebody told me they were playing.
They were playing at the what's the Circuit of the Americas? I believe they set up a stadium within that. The Circuit of Americas is the big like F1 Formula One track that's in the Austin area. I don't know where it is in the area, but they were always kind of a lower. Their group was not well backed. Charlotte Independence was kind of scraping by. Atlanta Silverbacks over the years had been on hiatus 2 or 3 times leading into that. They were never, unfortunately, going to be part of the new thing. I feel like Loyal has a different foothold already, and they have an owner that's promoted the team, which I know sounds basic, but look at the teams where there's no promotion versus the teams that can actually advertise themselves within USL, and you see a vast difference in attendance. Miami FC would come to mind. I don't know what kind of promotion they get, but earlier I found last year's attendance, and they averaged about 1,100. So, and they've never, going back to NASL or when they came through NPSL, they've never really had support there, even before Inter Miami was a thing. Because they started, I'm trying to remember my history, they started after the original Miami FC became the Fort Lauderdale Strikers in NASL. Everything old is new again. And then folded up in the whole traffic scandal surrounding Jack Warner and all of that stuff with CONCACAF. So that's where Ricardo Silva's new team came in, and he and the Cosmos basically took down NASL. I could go on about that forever, but yeah, no, there are clearly teams in USL who aren't promoting themselves, and there are teams that are putting a foundation on themselves. And Sacramento, San Diego, Indy, Louisville, Louisville is a great example of that. They have their own facility now that looks amazing. So, that's going to be the interesting thing is San Diego, I feel like, is in that group of teams that has really built a base under itself in these last 4 years. That it'll be interesting to see if that's different now with MLS coming in versus a team that was there, but nobody knew it.
Yeah. I don't know. And I want to respond to one comment. Loyal Loca said it's going to be tough if people around you are now BS. So I don't think that the people around me are BS. I know I was questioning, all of that, but no, I don't think people are BS. And like, obviously everybody, can support how they want to support. Like, I'm not like saying like you were doing it the wrong way and you were doing it the right way. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just talking about like the emotional reaction to like seeing like another club be embraced. Like that's what I mean. Like it's like I thought that there would be more of a fight from loyal supporters than there was. Like I think the biggest statement we made was posting the Loyal's logo in the replies on their tweets, and that's like that was the battle, I guess. And I do think it's a losing battle. Like that's I think that's like the real like kick in the pants is like no matter how much we like complain or don't like the team coming, like it's going to come, they're going to draw, and it's going to be the biggest soccer team in town, like by the very nature of like men's sports being more highly regarded by in the general culture than women's sports. I know NWSL is still fighting for equality. Their players do not get paid what MLS players get. This has been going on forever in the WNBA as well. So by the very nature of being a men's team in the top division, they're going to be the biggest story in town. You're going to now see major local media outlets covering soccer, which hasn't always happened regularly. And they might even cover it in a way that they don't relate every soccer story to the Chargers in some way. I think we're all looking forward to the moment when a soccer match or a soccer team is talked about on its own merits and not in relation to a team that is no longer in town or a team from a completely different sport for that matter. But it's still, I heard, I think it was on, so here's an example. Okay. So I listened to the latest Two Balls on the Mic, which is like the best local soccer podcast as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it's the only one I really know about. So if there's a better one out there, somebody tell me. But so I looked at it, and this was a big week for Loyal, winning on the road. Pretty exciting game, good watch party. But they didn't talk about the game until 50 minutes into their podcast, right? Because by its just existing, MLS is the biggest story in soccer, right? So it's just going to suck all of the oxygen out of the room when we talk soccer. And I think that's going to impact the Wave a little bit as well. It's obviously not the same crowd at Wave, but gosh, you know what? I'm the first time that FC San Diego / San Diego FC has a home match at Snapdragon at the same time that Loyal have a home match at Torero. Let's see what Torero looks like on that day, because that's what I'm really interested to see, and that's going to be the true test for me. Is does this team have the support, or is that crowd going to be, just down the road. That's what I'm not sure about.
So I think eventually, as things play, because anything new is going to draw. I mean, it's going to early on, but I think as things play out, I think overall we're all going to have different core fan groups, and there's going to be people who go to all of them. Just like now we have people who are in 109, but they go to soccer's matches and they go to Wave matches, and all of us may go to some bigger event type things for another local
People even
team.
go to baseball games. I guess if you need a nap, you go watch some baseball.
But I think overall, eventually, like, I don't think there's a huge crossover between loyal fans and Wave fans, and it'll be interesting to me to see if there is also, a different segment that chooses the Major League Soccer team as opposed to the loyal or the Wave. But on that, I don't want to get too far away, and we do have a special guest here. It's been waiting in the wings, who's just popped in. So I'm going to bring Tay.
Oh my
Director
gosh.
of memberships, who has surprised us with his presence.
Is he frozen already? Did he come in? Oh no, he's
Yeah,
No,
he's
it's
blinking.
oh my gosh.
Got
Okay.
half a headset missing.
Ladies
And
and
half
gentlemen,
his
we are now
hair.
The
joined.
lighting in this office is weirdly illuminating, like not illuminating this side, I guess. And so if I turn, now I get one ear. So it's like I'm like a fighter, like a helicopter pilot, I guess. Not a
What are you
fighter pilot.
hiding from us?
Behind me?
Behind your
Unfortunately, my
virtual-
camera faces a where's the settings? Virtual background, none. Like a vacuum, a mirror. The mirror is honestly the worst part. It just
Yeah, but
like,
you've got the scarves. You're set.
the scarves are good. I need to redo my scarf wall. It's actually it's pretty good. It's got more scarves than I can fit. I've got another curtain rod that I need to hang up over my couch in the office, and I need to organize because honestly, it's actually a utilitarian thing right now. I'm literally going in there and like grabbing my Bayern scarf to go watch Saturday morning games, and then grabbing my loyal scarf, and then now that soccer's done, but I was grabbing my soccer scarf. So it gets movement, and then you have to pick which loyal scarf you want to wear. Well, I take that back. You have to pick which local scarf you want to wear. I don't think I've ever worn a. No, I take it back. I've worn my loyal scarves a couple of times in the dead heat of summer because they're thin. But even for that, I have a Chavo scarf now and a rainbow loyal scarf, so they'll probably take more precedent.
So the question of the night, Taylor, I'm gonna put it to you now. What do you think of Loyal's performance in Miami and the what we've seen so far from finding a solution to Charlie Adams being missing and our faltering attack?
So luckily for my heart, I got to enjoy that game in a more fun way because I was at my brother-in-law's house checking in on the score and peeking at the game back and forth. So I wasn't sitting there for the lulls of us just like underperforming and looking sketchy as shit, which was probably good for my heart. We had a bottle share. I was drinking lots of little tasters of amazing sours and IPAs and hanging out and watching dogs run around. So that was
Throwing
probably
it back 2016 style with a bottle share. I haven't been to one of those in forever.
It was a blast. My brother-in-law is hilarious. He always thinks that he's going to help get rid of all the bottles out of his garage. And what happens is people bring even more, and he ends up with more beer than he started with, which is great for me. So luckily, I looked and I was like, oh, 1-0, we're fucking losing. Early goal, own goals. And then, 3-2. And I'm like, oh, and then I got to watch the highlights and I was like, missing Charlie hurts, man. It is not. I'm kind of at the point when Charlie's out, I'm kind of ready to just say, like, it's already kind of sketch. Just give Xavi the game time and see what he does.
Okay. I'm not totally
There you go,
crazy,
Andrew.
right? Oh man,
No,
this is what
I
I've been
think-
saying.
Chappie's
Here
been
we
on
go.
this bender for about 2 years now since he first ever even showed up for us. If you're going to have kids, play the kids. But at this point, I think I'm fully in on it. Like, if it's that sketched, just play him. See what happens.
Okay. Second question. What's your? Are you ready to go get your MLS San Diego scarf and shout your head off for 90 minutes at the FC San Diego match.
You missed one question that you should ask before that, and it's obviously what am I drinking now that I'm not drinking? Whoa, that
Well, I can't see, bro.
There you go.
Oh, big spender, the Pure Project.
Pure Project. I don't know where this came from, but I'm happy that it was in my fridge.
It's always the most expensive beer at the store.
I'm gonna.
That's my beer.
Yeah, Ashley just yelled at me.
I heard that.
You heard that, Ashley? They heard you. That's my beer. You can have some. I think Pure Project might be the best brewery in San Diego right now.
Yeah.
Like holistic, big picture, ignoring pricing, ignoring weights, ignoring hoity-toity hipster beer snobs like myself. I think they just are doing something right.
They're certainly one of the most consistently great. Like you get a beer from there, and it's like great. Like it's always like, oh man, this is fantastic. North Park's like that too.
Yeah, and what's crazy to me is North Park started out not good. I've been going to North Park since the day they opened, and their first few beers I was not impressed with. But with Pure Project, the other thing I really appreciate is like they're willing to make an alt beer, and they're willing to make weird barrel-aged beers. Like I think their creativity is up here. They're not just shooting for the old, we're going to make a double and a single IPA and a hazy IPA. We're the best brewery in town. Like they're like, no, we'll make something weird because everyone in the shop's like, what if we made a German alt
I see
beer?
what's happening here. You heard the beer talk earlier. You're not here to talk soccer, MLS.
Look,
he's plugging
heard
his
the
new
beer
show.
talk, and you're like,
I'm plugging my
get on
I'm
this
plugging my
show.
new podcast, Beer Talk with the Discord Deter.
So have you drank beer from Novo Brazil?
I have had a couple. It's been a while. I think the last time I've had their stuff canned.
Have you ever had a good beer from Novo Brazil?
I don't know if I'd call it a good beer, but it's been a while since I've really kind of given them a chance. So,
You had a bad experience?
not a bad experience. It just wasn't good. It was just like, oh, these are beers. I could drink these again, but I wasn't like, I gotta go back here. I need this. So I'd like to give them another chance. I will fully admit I have not tried to drink a bunch of their beers. I think the last time I was down there was after the Bear Halter open session where they only invited like the San Diego Outlaws to the training practice, and then we all went to Novo Brazil. So that was cool. I think I was riding the high of
brewery. Which was at the brewery or the
We
restaurant?
went to the brewery.
We went to the brewery.
Might have been before the restaurant was open.
Mm-hmm. By the way, this Tropical Missy Stritches Blonde Ale is absolutely delicious. But yeah, to answer your question about the MLS, and I've had a few days to think about this. I think, Andrew, you and I have had some long talks. I've had some long talks with some other locals, Chavos, real serious stuff and real lighthearted stuff too. I personally am not that excited. But after thinking about it for a few days, and I realized something, I'm not a San Diegan. I grew up in San Francisco. I had an MLS team already. Not that they're good, not that I love them like crazy, but I had a team. And if it originally I said, you know what, if this is way back, Soccer City, if we could generate this fervor of a community built thing and get a team, I was kind of ready to flip. And I was at that mode. I was in that headspace, right? And it didn't happen. We got a USL team, and I fell in love with them. And it took a little time. I thought the name Loyal was stupid when they first launched it.
Oh yeah, again, everybody did. It was
because
stupid.
Again, like for me, like I hated Spanos because he's a landowner from Stockton, not because he was the Chargers owner, right? Like I hated him for different reasons. And Loyal eventually, like, I just wanted to go watch soccer in San Diego. That was my original thing with MLS, with Soccer City, with Loyal first launching. I just wanted regular games to go watch soccer. And they turned into my team. Like I grew to love them. They did a lot of things that I ended up respecting them for. They did some shit that pissed me off. And I think anybody's going to do that. And that whole Carlton thing was really tough for me. I get where they were coming from. I just didn't think it was our job as supporters to go out and put ourselves on that limb. But we worked through it, right? We've worked through a lot. We've done a lot of good charity stuff. And so that team becoming an MLS team, the idea of that was exciting to me, that like we could take this thing we built as the Loyals and put it up on this
The
bigger
Loyals?
stage, right? The Loyal.
Did
I say Loyals?
You did.
Bro, where you, bro? I cannot let that one go by, man.
No, you
I'm
can't.
sorry.
Loyals drink. Yeah.
Yeah, drink. It was Loyal is. Nah, I don't know what I was talking. I'm slurring. I'm
I think
drunk.
you were trying to say locals.
I think that's what it was. I think you're right. I'm gonna take that and just say yes.
Sorry.
I totally
fix
just
this? We're gonna
derailed you right there.
Fix this in post. Anyway, no, what we built with Loyal and what we built with the locals, and take it to that next tier, right? Like that was exciting to me. This is a different group. You know, it feels like they're not involved with this, but we don't get to see behind the doors. Maybe there's still a chance Loyal is still involved in the future, right? Like they can come to some agreement to work on mutual stuff. I have no clue, right? We don't get to be in those offices. We don't get to be in those meetings. But I realized for me is I'm not a San Diegan, so the civic pride is different for me. And I think some of the other people I've talked to that aren't excited, I'm guessing for them, but it's also kind of that, right? Like we've made our choice. This is our team because we built up with it, right? But I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of my friends that are, you know, they've lived here forever and they've gone through the turmoil of terrible baseball, terrible football, teams leaving. The only soccer team for ages was the Sockers, and they went from playing outdoor at a high level to switching to this weird new indoor thing that was kind of fringe. And when people like talk about like Loyal stealing Sockers fans, they're not even really the same sport. They're a related sport, but like it's like saying lacrosse and indoor lacrosse are the same sport, which again, I'm talking about ass. I don't know anything about lacrosse. I think it's a crazy sport that's for people in Connecticut. But anyway,
It's definitely an
Right.
East Coast vibe.
but it's different, right? It's just a different vibe. So I'm trying to put myself in their shoes and talk to it. And I've had some long conversations with people that are excited and trying to get their viewpoint. And, you know, there's the stuff that I care about by ownership groups, but right, we're comparing a millionaire to a billionaire also, which is kind of like, all right, where are we drawing these? We're making weird gray lines everywhere and we're just picking lines that are comfortable for us. So I still am personally not super stoked on the MLS team. Will I go see a game eventually? Maybe. I plan on being a diehard Loyal supporter, and as long as they'll play
Until
soccer.
this MLS team kills them, and then we're all just going to end up over there anyway.
I don't even know. But I'll compare. It's different, right? So with Wave, I wasn't happy with that ownership group. I don't like Burkle. He grosses me out. Different reasons than Mansour.
Does that have to do
Right.
with him being on Epstein's flight log, or
It just might. It just might. And what he did to Sacramento felt dirty too, honestly. Just from a business
Yes.
MLS standpoint, it just felt
God,
gross.
is MLS like a dirty business or something?
You know, who knows? Who knows these days? I hear though, if you get high enough in the tiers, you get samples of both moisturizers and conditioners. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, wasn't Herbalife like a sponsor of?
I mean, that was.
Galaxy
I
for
mean,
a
some of the
long
early
time?
sponsors of MLS just really.
This isn't
fed
even
into the
early. This
picture.
is like a few years
They
ago.
took what they could get.
Herbalife
They
on
did
the
take
on
what
the
they could
kit.
get. So, but you know, I've been a Quakes fan for a long time, and we lost that team to shit owners that left to Dynamo, and then they got to start the team up again, and then that owner decided, you know what, I also hate this still, and then it's just bankrupt any kind of performance on the field. So it's just, I don't know. But when the Wave came in, right, I didn't like the owners, but I was like, you know, I'm gonna wait and see how they had to sell me, right? I think that's where MLS is. They have to sell me. Loyal had to sell me, and they did so reasonably quickly. I was more eager to jump in because I had nothing at the time. I joined the locals right away because Steve and Drew and originally Daryl started it, and I knew those guys and I knew their passion, and that's the flip side, right? Like I know there's some great people that are getting behind this new San Diego team. They're going to give it their all. I just worry that it's going to come at the sacrifice of support for the Loyal, and I don't
mean,
think
how could it not? That's the thing is like,
and I don't think anybody has an intention for it not to be.
Yeah,
My time is already sucked up by this enough. I mean, ask my friends that aren't big into it I'm on Discord all the time, keeping track and making sure that it isn't burning to the ground. And like, Taylor, are you gonna get off your phone today? And I'm like, shit.
How are those
phone
swear filters going, by the way?
That was fun. That was fun. A couple others dropped in. It's pretty much always you and Puma. But I really enjoyed Boners was the one that set it off. It really got me laughing. So I don't know. I'm pessimistically awaiting something to change. We've got a year. The flip side, right, is we've got a year and a half before a ball's kicked by that team. They don't have a name. They don't have a crest. There's every chance that maybe this excitement finally. I will totally agree that I think both Wave and Loyal have missed opportunities on marketing themselves to areas of San Diego. I think there are people that don't really know these teams exist, right? I think, check out like Waves finally, because of, props to Jerry. He's got them down doing community events in Chula Vista at, great places like Cakes, and reaching out to not just, North County soccer camps, right? And I think Loyal kind of missed that originally, and they're getting back into it now, and they're reaching out to community. So maybe this gets a few more people in the stands for Loyal while they're excited and waiting, and they realize they like it, and at least they're going to share some of their time with us. I don't know.
It's been
And
pretty
that might be enough.
consistent. So my son played for Chula Vista Football Club, and it's pretty consistent. Loyal tickets on offer pretty frequently. Wave as well, although that's been more recent. One of the girls' teams got a Wave match thing going, but yeah, for sure. I think that's kind of a no-brainer for these pro clubs is to get the kids out through the soccer clubs, and I'm sure they offer tickets to everybody. Every match it's like, we welcome this team from this whatever it's almost every single match,
and that's good. But like, you got to also get out into the community of like, I don't know. I'm 37 years old. I don't have kids that play soccer. I happen to be passionately into it. And I go to Bluefoot all the time.
Clock's ticking on that, man. What do you?
We'll figure it out. But you go look at like, there's people that aren't involved in those soccer, the surf or the whatever, right? Like, get out. And I think that's something that I've talked to Weston about, and I think a lot of people have mentioned to the team, and like, there's definitely opportunities to get out into other places. And I think over the last year, I'd say look at attendance numbers this year. I think we've done a good job this season. I think the outreach has been better. So it's there, right? There's people to bring in. There's people that are not aware of what's going on in Torero. And I think there's people out there to capture that are going to be new locals, new Chavos, new Loyal season ticket member holders, even when the MLS team is here.
Well, I think it could be, at least short term, folks who are interested in doing supporter group stuff for this new MLS club, might want to get out to 109 and pick up a drum or see how the capos work. I mean, it's a great place to come out and see how it's done, because we do a good job in the section in providing that atmosphere for the whole stadium. And
be right back.
If if you're excited to do supporter stuff for an MLS club and have drums and all that, like, we've got that now. Like, you can come and do that now. Like, and it's a lot cheaper than it's going to be to do it for MLS. So those opportunities are there, and I can certainly imagine a scenario where we do grow in our numbers in the supporter section as people get excited for MLS to start. Like, oh, let's go and do this. Let's go and see how it's done. Let's go and be part of this now. And that way, whenever this other thing starts, we know what to do. We know what a good supporter section looks and sounds like because we've been doing it.
I think part of that growth, I think that is important. We do reach out. I think we should try to encourage over this rest of this season and the next season, get as many new people who might be interested out to see a game, to experience the supporter section. But I think we will offer a different experience than the MLS group. However that forms, there could be multiple supporter groups under some kind of umbrella. I mean, are we going to end up, or is the San Diego team going to end up like a 32-52 where it's fairly organized under an umbrella? Or is it going to be like the Galaxy where they're, in different parts of the stadium and not always getting along with
That
each
sucks
other?
so bad. That sucks so
Right.
bad.
So
Please repeat
Yeah, no,
everything
I-
you said when I was gone.
So we have no idea how that's going
No.
to play out, but getting people to experience a loyal match, I mean, there undoubtedly is going to be a little bit of a lull when the MLS team starts. I mean, people only have so much money and time, and there's going to be people who want to go check that out. But I would even say I guarantee. I mean, we offer an experience that is really unique. I mean, it's a good supporter experience, but it's also a bit unique for supporters across the country. I think we offer something that I'm not sure the MLS team will offer. And I think when people have a chance to experience both, there will be some that decide that MLS team is more the kind of experience they want to have. And there's going to be others that decide that 109 kind of experience is more in line with what they want to have. That's how they want to do their soccer support. And I think there is a path forward to grow our support and supporter culture that we have for this club that we all love here. We have an additional spotlight out there with MLS. I think there's a chance that we could really take advantage of it rather than, I know a lot of people, at least initially here, is like, we're just going to get squashed. I see to me a clear path forward that we can grow things, because I think we'll attract a different group. The people who choose to stay with us are going to be a different group than
Yeah, I think you're
than
exactly
see the
right.
MLS.
And I've seen this play out with Minnesota. There are quite a number of people who talk about how much they miss the lower league experience that we used to get. I've said to people before, a lot of what I've enjoyed with the locals, I think the biggest eye opener for me was last year doing the first OC trip. And like a lot of that reminds me of my old days with the Dark Clouds in Minnesota. And I realized how much I missed that kind of jackassery involved. So, but there are definitely a lot of people who have been craving that similar experience, and now many of them will also. They still go to games. Some of them aren't in the supporter section anymore. Some of us are older. Some people just aren't quite as connected because it's more difficult to be connected to the club in MLS. It's just not the same experience. But there's Minneapolis City who are now in USL 2, whatever the old PDL is now. And the number of people I know from the old school Dark Clouds and such also go to those games, and they get that small experience, that small intimate experience through that. So I think you're right. There's an opportunity there to turn people on to what really makes this group unique and what makes the experience special.
Yeah, that's true. And also, bonus is that MLS is an incredibly boring league to follow. Like season to season, who wins? I mean, it's just not as unpredictable or wild, or the kits are all the same.
All right, the kits are trash. I'm gonna jump in because I know Kevin, because the seasons are completely ridiculously unpredictable because there's no system of any kind of continuity, and just teams will win and then go to shit the next year, and nothing makes sense. Also, again, Earthquakes fan here. There is no reason my team should be in the league currently. Just zero reason. I'm rooting for relegation for them, except for that their owners wouldn't get the point. Like, that's incredibly frustrating.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, and I think we need to start to wrap it up a little bit, but like, at the end of the day, like the real like gripe here isn't with MLS or supporters who want to do MLS instead of this. Like the problem is U.S. soccer and the lack of parallel
100%.
and the lack of a real pyramid. Like the fact that the reason
Screw
why
you,
we
Dylan.
the reason why we can't have that Wrexham experience here, or that experience of the European fan who just with their club do or die, through the ups and downs. The reason we can't have that here is because we literally can't have that here. Like we can't have that here. It cannot happen. It will not happen. There is no path forward to rise and fall and all of that. The lack of Perel, this monopoly, alleged monopoly of U.S. soccer and MLS that is, part of some long antitrust lawsuit, I guess. But that's the real problem here. Like it's not this fan's fault or this person's fault or the people who want to do this or do that. The core issue, these are all symptoms, the symptoms of the main disease, and that is that we don't have a real soccer pyramid here, and that really, more than anything, holds back the sport in this country, I think, because if we did have that system here, it would just be more compelling. The stories are better. It would be better. I know Kevin's shaking his head. For some reason, your mic is muted, Kevin. I can't hear you. But,
I haven't been cutting you off. I'm waiting.
Tell me why I'm wrong.
Romantically, I agree with everything you're saying. Let me just put that up front. I love that idea. I don't think the American public loves that idea. And, having seen the landscape before, not just before MLS, but before 2005 MLS, because MLS damn near folded 5 years into its existence.
We were so close.
I mean, you didn't want that. You say you want it now. We didn't actually want that. It would have been another 2 steps back in actually having a reasonable league in US and Canada. I believe that MLS has actually contributed greatly to the growth of the sport. I know a lot of people now say that MLS has only held it back through its entire existence and blah, 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 blah. No. You talk about the original NASL, flash in the pan, cocaine fueled fever dream that it was.
It was the DeLorean of soccer leagues.
It was. I like that. I'm not sure I've heard that before. I like that.
Wasn't there a 30 for 30 about them? I think.
Oh yeah, no. If you've not watched Once in a Lifetime, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. But there was no infrastructure. They didn't build anything. They put a product out there. It sizzled for 5 to 10 years, and then it went back to being trash, and everybody went bankrupt. There was no foundation there whatsoever. You look at MLS, and MLS started out just floundering. They tried to Americanize the game, the actual gameplay, and they thought that would bring in more people, and it didn't. So Don Garber, everybody's foe.
I mean, the penalty kicks, they should bring that back.
No, they
To
shouldn't.
be honest.
No, they're an abomination. They're terrible.
Phenomenal. Gosh, that was awesome.
Of all of the things about MLS that you want, I'm not sure if you're just fucking with me, that some people want, of all of the things that they want to throw out about MLS, they're like, but those penalty kicks. I'm like, oh,
that
God,
was
no.
the good thing.
No,
Look,
no.
I'm going to say it right now. I'm going to say it right now. Regular season games, no. Hand out the shield at the end of the season. But the playoffs, it's purely American. I think we should get wild and put those back in just for the playoffs, not for real penalty kicks, not for actual penalties.
All right.
But for
right.
shootouts.
I'm cutting you off because, one, you're clearly already drunk.
Taylor's getting ready
I'm
for
going to
a
go
shift
back
at
to
the
my
Bad
original
Idea
point and
Factory.
get away from those, because what an abomination.
All right, at least the MLS All-Star game. Can we at least have it at the All-Star game?
Okay, maybe. But you'll never get the foreign teams to agree if we're still doing that format. Anyway,
Yeah, they're real
so
dangerous.
2000, they kill the Florida teams, which was the right thing to do because those Florida teams didn't promote themselves, had terrible ownership. They were an anchor.
They were in Florida.
Fair. I mean, can we just do the Bugs Bunny cut off Florida thing right now? Anyway, so they consolidate and kind of bunker for a few years. That's when Don Garber comes in. And again, I know we all hate Don Garber, quote unquote.
Did he
The
do something bad?
guy grew the league. The guy got, he kind of came in and said, look, we got to cut these losses. We've got to build. And eventually you got to the point where they wanted to bring in more teams. And, it wasn't just Garber, obviously. There was a push, kind of a circumstantial push when Columbus could no longer use Ohio Stadium because they were doing to do renovations. And they built Crew Stadium. And that building of Crew Stadium kind of is a little bit of a watershed moment of if we're going to move forward and we're going to continue to have a relatively high level league in the US, our teams can't keep playing in these cavernous, high rent NFL stadiums. They need an environment that, one, they control. They control financially, but is also more conducive to the size of the crowds that MLS teams are going to draw, at least for now. And so you had the MLS 2.0, where you had teams like Toronto coming in with their own stadium, and you just started adding all of these teams and their soccer-specific stadiums, no matter what weird places they ended up for a while. Chicago, Dallas, Colorado. Great stadiums, weird locations. But they had them. And they kept building that foundation under things. And kept, now you've got teams controlling their revenue flows, controlling their stadiums, and playing in stadiums that were the size that you would hope for a soccer crowd at that time. You didn't have Seattle coming in until much later, drawing 40,000 in justifying opening the big stadium. But now, not only are you trying to control your financial losses, which is huge because they were bleeding money, people are taking it more seriously because now these teams are putting out a product that looks like it belongs as a professional league.
Yeah, but okay, but still, I mean, if a team brings in a player from Europe, every team in the league has to help pay their salary. It's such
You're
weird,
not
hokey
again.
thing.
You're
It's
not
a
wrong
hokey,
now.
Weird thing.
You're
Yeah,
not wrong
yeah.
now. There are some things that are odd about the structure, but there are a lot of things about that structure that kept the league in business.
So I think Paul kind of dropped it right. Garber killed it for MLS 2.0. 2.0's time is done, and we have to move on. And I think Garber is still just totally locked in on expansion fee, big name player, more of that. He's not.
But also,
Not
you've
ready
got
for
a
that
lot
next
more
level.
teams now running academies
That's good.
that they weren't doing for a long time.
Here's my pitch. Okay, if MLS can command $500 million expansion fees, it could take that $500 million and just buy the flipping USL championship.
But what does
How
that
much
get
is
them?
the USL championship worth, like altogether?
How many teams are in the USL Championship?
Is it $1 billion?
No, how many teams are in USL Championship? 20?
24?
24? It's
Okay,
probably
but MLS is not doing it for that. I mean,
No, I
the
know,
structure
but-
now is to protect the ownership investment. That's
Right.
where
Yeah,
we
yeah,
have.
yeah.
That's where we are now.
again. This
Right.
is again.
I'm talking about if they cared about soccer in the States.
Well,
I know
that's
they
the
don't,
issue.
but if
That's
they
not-
did,
Unfortunately, that's not MLS's job. That's where U.S.
Yeah.
Soccer Federation has
Right.
completely let us down over and over again. Where in other countries, they have somebody go, "You can't keep doing that." Premier League didn't exist. What in the '90s, early '90s, right? They showed up and said, "We're going to start our own league. We're going crazy. And FA said, that's fine, but you still have to relegate to championship. You're still in our system, and you have to follow the rules of our system.
I mean, they fought for them still doing that because it wasn't a given.
Right, exactly. But they had a power that was willing to push back. And unfortunately, for a long time, MLS and US soccer were in cahoots. And they're not ready. Look, they did a lot of good. I think MLS 2.0 really changed things. I think, yes, we had to bring in some big names for a little bit, but the soccer-specific stadiums, we went through the whole thing of getting rid of goofy names and then doing all the European names. And now I think all of us are kind of like, shit, the goofy names were fun. We should have kept the goofy names. It made us, right?
Mm-hmm.
The fun, we call it soccer argument. It's totally pedantic, stupid, but it's fun. It makes it enjoyable for me. I don't know why.
And the
But-
English used to call it soccer until we.
Oh, I
started
know
calling it
the whole
soccer,
history.
and-
It's
okay.
fun lecturing people
Yeah.
about it too,
Yeah.
because then they get all mad about it. But ultimately, I think we need MLS 3.0's got to start at some point. US Soccer 3.0's got to start, and I think continually expanding MLS to be bigger and bigger and bigger just hurts the level of play for MLS. Right? To do a double round robin with 30 teams is crazy.
Right.
Now, if you want to split it to the East and West and do the whole, AL, NL, NFC, AFC thing, I think that's an option, honestly, if you want to preserve the MLS big thing. But just keeping it at 30 is just insane to me. It's a
Also,
lot of
also their
teams.
business model seems to depend on continually expanding to inject cash into the system.
Right.
So
And I think,
there's some kind of name for that business model.
there's
I
some
can't
kind of
quite
name for
remember.
that.
I think you overstate that, but I'm getting what you're going for.
I think those. I honestly believe MLS has the ability to not count on that to work, and I think the financial independence of individual teams has proven that. But the problem is, there's a lot of teams that don't make money and count on the other side of it that need the support, right? Like they expanded in some markets that weren't good markets to enter because at the time it was like, ooh, soccer specific. Somebody wants this here, and they went, we're gonna do it. And there was the era of the soccer wars of USL versus MLS, where they were really making sure they were destroying teams. I actually don't think MLS came into San Diego to destroy what Loyal was doing. I don't think
No.
they care if they do, but
No.
I think they went into some other markets explicitly going, fuck, this is going to screw up our thing. We got to do it. They just
Well,
said,
they came
oh,
here
God.
because they know that the crowd is here, that the fans are
They
here.
said
Like,
they saw 30,000 people showing up to an NWSL game, which has never happened ever, right? And that's not just because it's Wave. That's also because the impression of women's soccer in the world has improved. Thank
they
God.
also brought
finally.
the best women's player.
They brought the best,
Alex Morgan.
probably one of the best women's players that's ever played.
I don't know. Was this in the Discord? Somebody crunched the numbers,
Yes.
and I know we're way
Somebody
over
else
time.
tweeted it, but it was awesome.
But-
Yeah,
Alex Morgan on the away matches, away teams average like almost 2,000 more people per game when Wave come through with Alex Morgan. That's her star power.
that's
The
impressive.
Alex Morgan of men's soccer is not playing in MLS until they're 35 years old.
No,
I know that they keep dangling Mo Salah out there for this team, but
it's not enough.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's
It
been
would. I mean, the equivalent of Alex Morgan is Ronaldo, Messi. I mean, it's got to be way the fuck up there. It's not just that they're a great player; it's global brand recognition too, right? I mean, there's a lot of
like World Cup
personal
champion.
marketing, World Cup. I mean, there's a lot that goes into that, right? And that's fucking great for San Diego. That's awesome. And what they've done, and I think, and then Wave kind of, they said we're going to spend some money, and like having Naomi Girma on our team is incredible. Oh, we also have the best women's goalkeeper in the world right now is on the Wave. Like, I think to anybody that argue it's someone besides Kaylin Sheridan, is just wrong,
But
and I
you
will
know
ban
who
them
we
from the
could
Discord.
get? We could get the LeBron James of soccer.
We should get the LeBron James of soccer.
He may be available. His
May
name
be
is
available.
Christian Pulisic.
Sitch. It's Pulisic because
Stitch,
it's
the
you gotta say
LeBron
Sitch.
James of soccer, according to somebody on Twitter. Wait, was that on Twitter? No, that was some. Anyway, it's an old.
It's
reference.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Puma likes to repeat it, and I enjoy every time he types it out in the Discord.
Okay, so it's been well over an hour. We have solved the MLS problem, I think, in San Diego in this
I think we solved it.
previous hour and 20 minutes. Pulisic in, Mo Salah out. We're gonna win the MLS Cup in 2025. We are going
We're
to
also going to win the USL Cup in 2024.
We're going to sell out Torero Stadium every time the MLS team has a home game. So everything is good. Nothing more to. Problem solved.
Back in the 1930s, I think it was, or 20s, I don't remember. Just one of the BBC went on the radio and said, "There's no news to report today. Thank you very much," and it was dead air for the rest of the day. Could you imagine how nice we could do that in this modern era?
I think
news cycle.
Also in the 1930s, and the U.S. men's national team was in the World Cup final. I will just say, I think it was was that the first World Cup?
First World Cup, we placed third place. They did not play the third, fourth game, but based on stats, we were the third place team, and that's the high bar, man. We've got to beat that.
There's precedent. There's precedent for success, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay, so local soccer issues solved. U.S. Soccer Federation problem solved here, and U.S. Failures on the world stage also solved.
I mean,
what an incredible hour and a half of podcasting this was. I'm sorry, Taylor. Go ahead.
I think you realize the solution is that the locals are going to stage a coup on Chicago House, or they moved to New York.
They're selling Soccer House, aren't they?
Hey, did you see it on? It's on Zillow. It's kind of a nice, beautiful building, except for the parking lot where there should be a beautiful garden. It's a gorgeous building.
Okay, I'm getting fact checked left and right in the chat. We have got to wrap this thing up. Kevin, once again, where can people find you? Should they want to play Rocket League for the locals World Championship Rocket League team?
You can find me on the locals Discord as KJ. You can also find me on Twitter as Doughboy767.
John, where can people find you? I know you're also looking for help.
Looking for a scheduler or someone to help with scheduling for our Kicking It with the Locals interviews. So if you're interested in helping out with that, contact me. The best place to find me is on Discord at John Cross.
And Taylor, anybody wanting to discuss the finer points of Pure Project's offerings, where can they do that with you?
Obviously, I am eternally on Discord as director of membership, and it's my job to make sure that Discord runs smoothly. And if anybody has a complaint, concern, or compliments are really nice, I could take a couple of those lately. Hit me up. I'm Taylor on Discord, and obviously on Instagram and Twitter. I am the Victorian Porn Star, VCTRNPRNSTR. Instagram's pretty personal and mostly good stuff, and if you're lucky enough to follow my Twitter, it's a shit show of everything that I don't filter.
Awesome. Okay, and I'm Andrew Dyer on Twitter at Andrew P. Dyer. Still looking for that Blue Sky invite, so pass that along. Hey, thanks to everybody who's been commenting in the chat. We do see you. I know we don't read all of them, but it's greatly appreciated to have your feedback in real time. So thank you all for joining us, and we'll be back next week to do it all again. Thank you. Good night.